After these first 10 groups, I want to review a little bit about the roots and prefixes, especially the Latin and Greek roots and prefixes that I think are important for you to remember. I'm sure we'll see them in the future as well. We had the root mal, we had that with malevolent, which was basically bad wishes. Remember, mal means bad, and vol has something to do with want or wishes. And we get a lot of other words with that. If you malinger, you're sort of a bad person, just hangs around. If you're malcontent, you're not contented with your life. It's not exactly that, but it's somebody who doesn't like things. If you're malicious, you do bad things. So that's a good root to know. There's a lot of prefixes. We'll cover them. One of the most popular ones is the one that starts with a or ab, and in our groups we already had the word abduct. A or ab generally means away or out of, so we also got the word abort, which means out of the stoppage. Amorphous is out of the change. Aggrandizement, out of the great. Accost was a little odd. It means out of the rib, but rib is part of your body, so it's, you attack somebody. Abbreviate is out of the shortness, and aghast is again a little bit odd. It means out of the ghost, sort of scared. So ghost means ghost, out of the ghost. That is a good prefix to know. We had another root, duct. We used it in the word abduct, and we've already done the ab part. The duct part means to lead. And you see duct in a lot of words in English. Conduct, induct, even an air duct means you lead the air. Product, as in production. A conductor leads the orchestra. And you get a lot of ducts in history too. In World War II, the head of Italy, the dictator Mussolini, was called El Duce. In English, that would be the leader. We also encountered the prefix e or ex. We got it in the word effrontery, and later on in the word espouse. If you see e in front of the word, or especially ex in front of the word, it again means from or out of. And I'm not even going to give you an example of that, because if you go to a dictionary, there's probably 10 or 15 pages of words that start with ex in English. Why don't you just try to think of a few yourself? It would help your memory if you can think of your own ex examples. I would give you an example, but even the word example is a word that starts with ex. But there's zillions of them, and we'll see that again. It's a good tool to remember how words are formed. We also encountered early on the prefix con or com. They're very similar. We got it in our words conscripted and conciliatory. Compunction, compel, and consternation. It generally means something that's similar to with, but sometimes to, so think of it as to or with. We covered the words conscripted, which is with the writing. That's when you get drafted. It usually is in written form. Conciliatory, which is with being friendly. Sil is friendly or a group, such as a council. Compunction is with or to the point. Compel is with or to the push. And consternation is with the throwing down when you're really bothered. We got the root from conscripted, the script, or sometimes you'll see it as scribe. It usually means write, and it's in a lot of words in English. A prescription is a writing that the doctor gives you. Conscription, we've already covered that. Scribble is when you sort of write stuff down just in random form. A scribe is a professional writer, so we get a lot of those words in English through the root script or scribe. We encountered in the first 10 groups a variety of words that started with re. Re generally means again. We got it in renovate, renunciation, and repose. Always is important. Again, if you go to the dictionary, you're going to find 10 pages of words that begin with re, R-E, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem thinking of your own examples there. With the word renovate, we got the prefix re, but we also got the root nova, and of course nova means new, and we get the word supernova, which is a new star, and something that's novel is new. And there's a lot of words in English that start with N-O-V. We also encountered one of the most popular and sometimes confusing prefixes, the IN or M. It's confusing because sometimes the IN or IM means in, as inside, and sometimes the IN or the M means not. The words that I put on the list started with the not version. Invariable, we got that in the third group, and pecunious, we got that in the sixth group, and immutable is in the 10th group. The word infuse was a word that we use, but there is a good example of where the in means not the not version, but the in version. In our fourth group of words, we encountered one of our most interesting roots. It's a Greek root, EU, and the word euphoric means extremely happy. EU, pronounced you, is a Greek root that means good. In addition to a word such as euphoric, which has something to do with good, you might get the word euphemism, which is a good word that's substituted for a bad thing. If you euthanize somebody, it's putting somebody to death for a good reason, if there is such a thing. We don't like to say that we took our cat to the vet to have it killed. We say we took our cat to the vet to have it euthanized. It's a nicer way of saying it. If any of you who are listening to this tape doing it to improve your results on standardized tests, just remember, you see EU, it has something to do with being good, and that will help you even if you don't know what the rest of the word means. In our fifth group, we encountered the root fort in the word fortified, and of course we get the word fort itself from it. You see the word forte, that's your strength. You also get a lot of other words such as comfort. We also got the root tan, T-A-N, or tant, and the word tantamount, and tan or tant generally has something to do with touch. It comes from the Latin tango. So if something's tangent, it just barely touches. If you dance the tango, you're touching. So they all have something to do with touch. We also got the word prefix pre, as in precarious. Later on we saw the word presumptuous. And if you go to the dictionary and look up the word pre and find out how many words start off with that, you'll see that zillion. Of course, it means before. Pre-1984 means before 1984. So it generally always has something to do with beforehand. And we also got the prefix day, a very, very common prefix in demise. Later on we saw it in deluge and delude. So it's a prefix for a lot of words. It means from. I myself use Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, and if you look up DE in the dictionary, you'll see over 30 pages of words that start with DE. Not all of them start with the prefix DE, but most of them do. So it's used in English a lot. By our sixth group, we encountered the root voc, V-O-C, or voc. Generally means to call out. It has something to do with talking. Your vocation, we got that word, comes from your calling in life, what you do for a living. We also got the word provoke. You could get the word invoke. Even our words vocal and voice comes from that Latin root vocare, which meant to talk. We got the prefix ob, ob, and obfuscate, and you might see that in other examples like obstinate or obnoxious, obligation, obscene, obsessed. There's many OBs in English. It generally means against. Sometimes it's just an intensifier. Anytime a word starts off with OB, it's a pretty intense word, such as obnoxious. We encountered the Latin prefix dis. It generally means apart or away from. You get a lot of those in English as well. Again, if you go to the dictionary, you'll get pages and pages and pages of that. You're going to have the words distaste, away from the taste. Discredit, meaning away from the credit, I don't believe you. Dislike, meaning I don't like you, it's away from liking you, and so forth. As you can probably imagine, this is usually a good indication that the word has some sort of negative connotation. We encountered the word dispersive. It's very similar to dispersion, to scatter stuff away from you. One of the most useful roots is bene. Sometimes it's bone. Bone and bene were similar words. One was the adverb form, one was the adjective form in Latin. You don't have to worry about that. You see bone or bone, you know it has something to do with being good or well. We got the word benevolent, and of course we saw that vol before, so it's good wishes, good feelings about somebody. If something is a benefit, it's a good. Something benign, it's a good. Anytime you see that root bene or bone, you know it has something to do with good. It was actually the Latin equivalent of the Greek eu. We also received the prefixes pro and the words propriety, prolific, propensity. Pro means forward. If you're pro something, you're going toward it. Promote, for example. We got the word root mute and immutable. Mute means change, such as mutation. A mutation is a type of change. If it's immutable, it's not changeable. There you see a combination of the im meaning not and mute meaning change combined. And we also got the root of magnum meaning great, as in magnanimous. You see words such as magnificent, magnify, magnum, and even the title magnificence. Your magnificence is a title that maybe a king would take. Always means something big, large, or great. This is the important point to know when you're studying vocabulary. It's hard when you start off because you're starting off with nothing, but once you pick up some of these prefixes and roots in both Latin and Greek, it's a lot easier to put words together and remember them. So the more you learn, the easier it is to learn even more words. So don't get frustrated, just keep trying.